Bolt your windows. Lock your doors. Check your closets. Look under your bed. And then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Knight of the Podcast.
Roger, cock-a-doodle-doo. We are
Cock-a-doodle motherfucking do, Troy.
This is one of the first times we've ever recorded in the morning. I literally just rolled out of bed, and I am putting my bright red lipstick on to get ready for this fucking episode. How about you?
Just in time for the sun to rise, Troy. So we can take our chainsaws and elegantly spin in a field together.
And my
in our black negligees.
Oh, I'll be wearing the white dumpy prom dress. You can have the black negligee.
Oh God, yeah! What an unflattering fashion choice for one Renee Zellweger. And let's be real, Troy.
Can we mention two-time Academy Award winner Renee Zellweger?
Yeah, let's be really fucking transparent here. The only reason why this title that we are going to be covering today is worth covering to begin with is because somehow, some way, the fates would have it that the two leading actors in this film, a terrible film, a film that is very hard to sit through, but we did it for you, the listeners, during Fan Pixit Week. We did it. We sat through it. Fan Pixit Month, I'm sorry, week 2 of Fan Pixit Month. We will be covering the seminal classic, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the next generation or the new generation? I don't even know. Which one is it, Troy?
The next generation.
The next generation. This movie, I own it on DVD, mind you. I have owned this film for probably 10 years. Still can't even remember the title. That's how little it stuck with me. The only thing I remember about this movie is the fact that a dumpling-faced Renee Zellweger, who fresh-faced, beaming, blonde, beautiful, still hasn't mastered line delivery yet in this film, but she's getting there. Stars alongside a very attractive Matthew McConaughey. I don't care if this fucker has a robotic leg. I don't care if he's chewing on the scenery left and right. He looked real good in this movie.
Oh, God. It's one of the only reasons to watch the movie. It just boggles my mind watching this movie that you got two future Oscar-winning actors in this.
How? I don't understand, but you know what? I guess it goes to show for you people out there who are maybe aspiring filmmakers or aspiring actors, like if you stick to your guns and you're really dedicated and you just keep giving it your all, eventually roses will grow from shit. And such is the case with the demure Renee Zellweger and her ever-changing face, and the constantly handsome, though finally looking somewhat leathered and weathered with age, but still looks good, Matthew McConaughey. I mean, the fucker holds up. I'm going to say he holds up. But I like him here. He's dirty. He's oily. He's greasy. He's crazy. And he's very over the top. And I wouldn't say it exactly works per se, but it definitely isn't the weakest part of the film. That's because this is a film that is absolutely riddled with flaws.
Well, we got to thank our fan who selected this film for us or submitted it for us to consider for selection, and it just happened to be picked. So Cameron, we thank you so much for suggesting this film. I am glad I got.
Do we?
Well, I'm glad I got to revisit it. I hadn't seen it for a long time. I remember the first time I saw this film, I fucking hated it. But maybe it grew on me a little bit. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But thank you, Cameron, for suggesting the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the next generation. Even though that title doesn't fucking make sense.
It makes no sense whatsoever. Nothing about this movie makes sense. And I think the biggest Achilles heel it has is that it feels so separate and distant from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which many of the things that worked in the original film's favor are completely stripped away here. And they definitely lean in towards more of a comedic, shticky performance from some of the major characters, especially from the character of Leatherface, who by this point fans had already come to cherish and celebrate and love and appreciate him for what he was. And they made a real bold choice here to go completely in a different direction. And it does not do this character any favors at
No,
all.
it's almost like a completely separate character from the first three films. There are flashes of the original Leatherface in a few minor scenes, particularly like the first big chase scene with Renee Zellweger, which I actually like. But then once he gets back to the house and once Vilmer, Matthew McConaughey's character, shows up, it becomes a completely different character. And it's really puzzling because you know the director of this film, Kim Hinkle, he was the writer and one of the original producers of the first film. So I don't know if it's almost like he, and I don't know. I mean, it's almost like he maybe somehow along the way, and I'm just speculating. I really have no clue. Like, had a beef with Toby Hooper. It's like, oh, I'm gonna make my own Texas Chainsaw movie and shit on the franchise. I'll show him. I mean, it just seems like how could somebody that was involved so heavily with the first film look at the script and everything and think this is it. This is it. This is the sequel that I want to do to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, with our recent podcast mini episode where we talked about our personal top threes. I'm just going to say our personal top threes. We delved into. I'm not going to go too specific into it, but we did at one point talk about the idea of jumping the shark. We talked about jumping the shark, and that's something that comes up. I don't want to give away exactly what the topic is yet. I want it to be a surprise and be enticing for our potential Patreon listeners out there.
Well, it's already posted on the Patreon. So if you want to hear what he's talking about, we just did a Patreon mini episode for July, and we talked about our top three lamest killers in horror. And yes, we did talk about franchises that jump the shark or completely from one film to the next do something completely different with the villain. So a couple of our selections are examples of that. So if you want to hear that, it is on our Patreon for July already. It's patreon.com/Dark Night of the Podcast. The link is in the show notes. Check it out. You can get access to that episode and hear all our thoughts and all of our previous mini episodes. There's about 12 of them now, and that's just $2 a month. So check it out. We also have full-length episodes up. We've covered some great movies that we wouldn't cover on the podcast, such as we did Terrifier. I know that's getting a lot of attention now because the sequel is coming out in October. We did Return to Oz, Repo, the Genetic Opera. There's a lot of good stuff on there. So check out the Patreon.
Yeah, and this new top three is really fun. I don't want to give away any of my personal choices. I'm going to say that. But the idea of jumping the shark really, I think, lands here because I think the director and the writer here wanted to do something that, for whatever reason, wanted to do something completely different, something completely fresh. And it just went too far. It went too far, and it does not feel rooted in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre lore. And it really, for me as a fan, because I am a fan of the original film, um, it's hard to watch this movie. Any enjoyability factor that could exist by the end of the film is kind of leached from it because of just how absurd the movie gets and where they allow it to go. It doesn't feel authentic at all, and we're definitely going to get into it. We're definitely going to get into that in a lot of things because I have a lot of gripes. But one thing you did say is you mentioned there's like a chase scene with Renee Zellweger that you actually do enjoy, and I do want to say that this movie, for all of the issues I have, when comparing this title to last week's title that we covered, American Psycho 2, All American Girl, that movie, very easy to mock, but overall, as a horror movie, there was not a single moment over the course of that film that I could say, this is a standout. This was something that I actually enjoyed. This is something that I thought momentarily felt like a fine crafted piece of cinema. Did not exist in that film. At least I'll say here that even though this movie, for the most part, I think is pretty atrocious. There are moments, there are glimpses here that seem to be developing suspense, that feel like they're kind of going somewhere in a positive direction. And then it takes like a sharp left turn and it all falls apart. But I will say, at least this movie does have a few moments where I'm like, God, if they would have only like stuck with this, play up your strengths, stick to what you know. Don't go like it like weird conspiracies, Men in Black, all these weird things we're going to touch on. Stick to what you know, and they didn't do that here, and it was a grave error.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. I mean, the opening shot of the film is it kind of replicates the opening of the original film with the text on screen and the voiceover. Although whoever's doing this voiceover is not nearly as impactful as one John
Oh
Larroquette.
no, it's significantly less
Yeah, it
effective.
sounds like they just probably grabbed the sound guy and said, "Here, read this." We do get a voiceover that tells us that there's a legend of a chainsaw wielding family out of Central Texas, and they were never apprehended. And for 10 long years, nothing. You didn't hear anything from them. And then there was a couple of sporadic incidents that happened, and I'm assuming they're talking about what happened in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and 3. And then for 5 more years, nothing. And then we get the date. It is May 26th, 1996. And it is prom night. And we get a very, very close up of one Renee Zellweger putting on some beautiful red lipstick, although she wipes it off immediately.
Yeah, there's a lot of little moments with characters here where it seems like they're trying to like explore something a little bit further, and they never really go into it enough to make it clear exactly like what the intention here could be. And right here is an example of that. Right off the bat, you meet the character Jenny. She ends up being the final girl. You have this moment in her like rural redneck bedroom where she's putting on this scarlet red lipstick. I like to think it's a premonition of things to come for her and Judy, winning that Oscar and all them things, with them big red lips, because that's the only color she had on that whole movie in Judy. Overall, I think that they're trying to establish like that she's living in this environment, this household that maybe is potentially like abusive. Like you hear the sound of her dad in the background, like arguing with the mother, and then when something like crashes, she immediately wipes off the lipstick, like scared for them to see it. It feels almost like they're kind of trying to go like a Carrie White-esque kind of route with her, but you get nothing else to do with it. You hear some of her backstory later, but you don't get to ever explore this character being in these scenarios where you really know like what her motivations are, what makes her tick, why she is who she is. You get a little narration from Heather about who the character is, but you never really see it at play. She's kind of just pretty much immediately thrust into the storyline. And so it doesn't do her character much justice.
Yeah, it's interesting because I almost feel like the Jenny character that we meet at the beginning of the film is like a completely different character. She shifts halfway through the movie, and I don't think it's like in an intentional way. I think it's like in a just like a bad writing way. Did you get that feeling? Because
Oh yeah.
there's many films that do explore a character that has like some past trauma or a bad home life, and then is thrust into a situation like this, and then it uses that trauma and that turmoil to muster the strength to finally confront the killers. I mean, think of like like You're Next. You know, that character, the Sharni Vincent character, has a whole backstory, and she starts the film being very meek, and then when the backstory is revealed, she is able to use that as a tool to defeat the killers. It would have been interesting if they would have explored that with this character, because yes, it is very much hinted that Jenny is abused by her mother's boyfriends, husbands, but it's not like used as a tool for her to like stand up finally and be like, I'm sick of being the victim. I'm going to fight back. It's dropped. And the way she's introduced at the beginning of this film, like during this prom scene, when she pops up in the back of Barry's car, she seems like very meek and nerdy and like, but then it just doesn't go anywhere.
No. Well, and that's, I mean, a big issue I think overall is in the writing of the script. I mean, the script is just pretty god awful beginning to end in the sense of the story. The dialogue isn't necessarily bad per se, but it's very disjointed, and characters like motivations and their through stories kind of like jump all over the place. You'll have a lot of characters who will have certain reactions or responses or will deliver certain lines and come off really wooden or come off really like out of the moment, but it's simply I think because of how they're directed and how the scenes are unfolding. A lot of things don't seem like realistic responses to what's happening in the
Okay.
moment.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that is one of my big issues with this movie is the fact that people's reactions to what is happening or what's revealed to them fall flat. Like there's not one realistic reaction in this film. Like people will literally see dead bodies hanging from trucks and they're like, "Oh no.
My
What
God.
happened?" Yeah, I'm like, your boyfriend is fucking hanging there, bitch. Come on, you're Renee Zellweger. Muster some of that Oscar-worthy acting out. But no, she's like, oh no, you're scaring me. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so basically, it's revealed that Jenny is getting ready for prom. After she wipes her lipstick off, she puts on the most frumpy fucking
Oh my
dress
God.
in film history. Who put her in
No,
this?
the only positive aspect about this dress is that it is a white dress. And the only reason that I appreciate that is because this movie is so dark that, like, oftentimes they are in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the blackness, and some of the people who are wearing like black suits kind of like fade into the background. You always see Jenny. She is glowing like a lighthouse. Like she is just always visible. It's an ugly fucking dress, but at least I can see her. So I'll say that. Like that was the one positive aspect about that frumpy fucking dress. But they're really trying to make her look like dumpy and uncomfortable because there's a character who comes up in a little bit named Benny or is it Barry? Barry or Barry? I'm sorry, it's Barry.
It's Barry.
Who
Yeah.
all he does is dog on poor Jenny. Like he keeps talking about how ugly she is, what a dog she is, and like I mean, come on, Renee Zellweger is an attractive woman, and like you could try to put her in the ugliest dress you want to put her in. It still seems very awkward and like ill fitting and doesn't make sense on her. But okay, they're really trying to make it clear this girl is like a frumpadump, and that alone just doesn't really translate because of who she is. The build up to this prom, they do try to like kind of tie in some of the classic Texas Chainsaw like visuals, like the camera flashes, the audio of the bulb going off. Like you hear that for a second. You see it when they're taking their prom photos together, but they're really like grasping at straws here to try to be like, this is in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre universe, and you're gonna know it. Like there's a lot of things like they purposely throw it in there just to like slather it onto the story that otherwise has no connection whatsoever.
Well, can we talk about her date? Her date is little cutie patootie, Sean.
Yeah, but you can't get a fucking line out.
Oh God,
this
this
kid
has to be
cannot act at all, nor can he deliver a chase scene.
Thank God he's not in the movie real.
Oh my
Fun to look at,
Yeah.
but yeah, bless his heart, he tried. Or did he? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. He sticks out.
He sticks out like a
sore thumb.
But
Because the performances across the board, even though there are a lot of issues with like line deliveries not being appropriate, I would say like the performances across the board are okay. However, he sticks out real. I mean, there's this line delivery he has coming up that is just eye roll inducing. I'm like, dude,
Are you talking about, please, mister?
you're scaring me.
Scaring me.
Yes, that's exactly the line. Oh.
But Troy, I've got to say, for as like clunky and like at times underwritten some of these characters may be, and how awkward the performances may be, I've got to say, some of these random one or two liner cameo characters that we are introduced to stick with me more than characters who are over the entire course of the film. There are a few people we meet just within this prom who I'm like, give them a fucking movie. Give Miss Abbott and her love for that, what I think is a strawberry that she's sitting there seductively licking on. Like, let me know more about her. You know who else I want to know more about? the dame in the red dress, the girl who she's got about 2 lines, but she makes them last for about 4 minutes, where she's like stuttering and stumbling and gasping her way through these 2 lines that she has. I'm like, who is this woman?
Well, who is she talking about? Okay,
She's
so
talking about Miss Abbott.
are you sure?
Yeah, because okay, here's what happens. So Heather, one of the two female focal characters, who's a pill, but I like aspects of Heather. I hate others. Heather comes out in her like frosted purple mini, big teased hair, straight out of the mid 90s, and she starts talking about her boyfriend Barry. And Miss Abbott instantly, upon suckling on the strawberry, she pops it out of her mouth and she goes, "Oh, I thought you two broke up," being, a teacher, prying herself into the student's love life. And immediately, the red dress damsel, who is apparently a friend of Heather's, is taken aback by this. And she proceeds to like give a performance that's it's like along the lines of this. She's doing it again, and she just I can't I just she just gets she does this she does it she does I can't do it again. She's gonna do it again. She's gonna do it again. You just gotta tell her. Don't listen. Don't listen to her. Oh my god. And then like people could come in and she starts talking to herself about it. Like this woman, like give this girl an award, not because she deserves it, because she fucking wants one. Because I mean, this could have easily just been like pass off dialogue, but this girl, she's like, I am taking this moment and I am motherfucking running with it in this red fucking prom dress. It's a lot.
She probably auditioned for the role of Jenny and didn't get it, so she's like, I'm gonna ham up every fucking line.
She's like, I'm going to show them what they could have had. Fast forward to Renee Zellweger winning that Oscar, and that woman, is sitting there seething on her couch eating popcorn, Jiffy Pop, with her 6 kids. She's like, that could have been me.
Oh, yes, because we know the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, led to Renee Zellweger's Oscar win. The voters had this in mind when they checked her name for Cold Mountain and Judy. They're
long overdue.
We are giving her the award for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We'll just say it's for Judy. Oh boy. Yeah, it's a lot. So Heather goes outside looking for Barry, who she finds kissing this random horse looking girl.
She's a rough looker. Like some of these extras, but here, that's what I'm saying. Some of these extras really stand out. They just grab this girl out of a local, like, Stop and Shop, and they're like, come be in a movie, make out with this guy. And she's like, all right. and she's got one line, but she's got probably more charisma than half of the cast. And yeah, it's Barry. I'm sorry. If you're leaving Heather for this broad, like, I mean, you do not have your priorities right, because Heather's a pill. We're gonna say she's a pill, but she's a cute one. I mean, she's got a tight little body. She's wearing that mini real well.
Well, Barry is, doesn't seem like he's quite the catch himself.
Barry is like somewhat attractive, but he is such a fucking piece of shit, like chauvinistic piece of shit pig. That it's so hard to find anything likable about him. And he has maybe 1 or 2 lines that he says that are like not despicable. And other than that, he's just constantly like slamming on women, mainly Jenny, and downgrading his girlfriend, like just talking down to her. And one of the things that I really can't stand about this film, and I think it's because it just feels so dated, is honestly like the relationship between Heather and Barry, because it's so toxic and it's so unhealthy, and they're both rather awful to each other. I don't know. I don't feel like this aged well at all. These are 2 very unlikable characters.
Well, talk about toxic relationships as when we get there, Darla and Vilmer, good fucking grief. Oh man. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe this was the cusp of, movies where they thought it was a good idea to make characters unlikable, because, we had that whole stretch of slasher films and horror films where it went from, having very likable, relatable characters. Think of like the early Friday the 13th movies. All the characters are likable. Halloween, all the characters are likable. We love some Linda. We love some Annie, but then all of a sudden, like it seems like in the mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, it shifted to like, oh, well, we want to make these characters as unlikable as possible. And that really sucks away a lot of effectiveness of the film because like I want to see Barry get murdered horribly. He deserved to be murdered way worse than what he was in this because he is a fucking chauvinistic asshole. I would rather have, sweet characters that I don't want to see die because it's a little bit more effective when they do meet their demise. It's not hard to figure out right away that, Jenny is going to be the final girl, right? I mean, she's the typical final girl trope. So after Heather finds Barry kissing this other girl, she gets in his car and drives away. And he starts chasing her. He's like, "Give me my fucking car back!" And she stops and lets him in. And he is very dismissive. He's like, "I wasn't doing anything wrong. What? I can't even be with friends anymore. You're so fucking possessive."
Oh my god. Oh my god. Like he was lapping on this girl's face all over her jaw and everything. We saw it. I don't know. This again, this relationship very unhealthy. But like let's also talk about how Heather's reaction is completely like worrisome. She steals his car and proceeds to like speed throughout the parking lot, like slamming into things. And she doesn't seem phased by it at all. And then he jumps in the car, and she's just like stoic face driving. Like she doesn't even really like get that heated with him. She's just like. Like she starts bitching with her high pitched helium voice, and I don't know. It's just like I think their writing is some of the worst in the movie because their intentions are all over the place. At one point, she's infuriated with him, and then seconds later, she is saying that she is the one who's in the wrong. That the reason, basically, he gives the reasoning that he's trying to make out with this girl is because if he can't have sex, which he's programmed to do as a man, there's a potential that he could get cancer. And she like is like, he's right. She's like, he's absolutely right. I'm wrong here. Shame on me. I should have sex with him. I won't do it. It's my fault. And it's like, girl, love yourself. Like, love yourself, Heather. God.
Well, at this moment, Jenny and Sean pop up from the back seat of his car. What the fuck were they doing in the back seat of his car?
I mean, I guess where else are you going to go? He's already making out behind the one the lone pole outside. I don't know where else you're going to go around the school campus, I guess.
Yeah, so Jenny pops up to tell Heather that that's not true. He's just saying it to make it your fault. And he keeps saying, "Oh, shut up, you fucking ugly bitch. What would you know about sex? Nobody wants to fuck you. You're ugly. You're a dog." And she's unfit. And she's like, "Oh, well, now he's just trying to change the subject."
I will say I do like that Jenny. Here's something I'll give a positive little hat tip towards. When Jenny does have these moments of dialogue, she is unfazed for the most part, and she is also very like straightforward about the fact that in this case Barry's a piece of shit, and she's like Heather, treat yourself better. Don't listen to him. Like at least Jenny is not. She might be a bit of a wallflower at first. She may be written to be a bit like standoffish, but it doesn't mean she's weak. Even in the beginning, she's not weak. She's very much willing to voice her issues with him and how he treats women.
Yeah, no, it makes her reaction at least is the most grounded thing in the film up to this point because we have all these characters just acting so questionable.
Yeah, it's irrational.
Yeah, and she's the one that's like, "Hey, come on, no, it's not your fault. He is deflecting. He's trying to make it, seem like you're the one in the wrong when it's him." And he's just very verbally aggressive towards her. She does hit a car and they speed off. I mean, it's like a hit and run. Like she hits this car and then they just they keep driving. And somehow they end up I don't know. This town can't be that big. You would think that they would know where they're going, right?
Yeah, isn't this their hometown?
Yes.
But somehow they get lost.
They get lost. They go down this deserted road, and as they're arguing again, this car comes out of like nowhere and sideswipes them and causes them to go off the road. It's a big ordeal. They get out. The guy that was driving the other car is apparently gravely injured.
Yeah.
He's like laying on the ground, like, ugh. And it becomes a big ordeal. It's the igniting issue of the film, which causes the characters to have to break up and go look for help because Jenny is insistent that they call an ambulance for this guy because he's going to die.
Yeah. Right before the accident happens, there's this moment, and I only bring this up because this is one of her few like major arcs of the film for Heather. The character of Heather, about a third of her dialogue is her rattling on about like serial killers and murderers. It's like something of an infatuation for this character. And it seems really out of place for the character, but at least they kind of address it. She brings it up at one point. But the first time you get an example of this, they're driving and she, like, out of nowhere, turns to Barry and she goes, Barry, I just thought of something that's so cool. What if we all got into a wreck and we all died and then write a song about it? And like, and that's what like launches into them getting like T-boned by this car. But like this isn't consistent for her. She's always making these really like aggressive comments about like death and murder and violence, and I guess it's supposed to be kind of ironic because it's set in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre universe, and you know that they're all going to get killed. But yeah, that's like one of her few defining traits. And it does become like kind of a dead horse that gets beat over the course of this movie because it feels very forced with her.
Well, and then it becomes all for nothing because she reveals something in a little bit about that. So it's like, why? Okay, so if that's the case, why did we have to hear 90% of your dialogue talking about how you think you're going to be murdered? And yeah, it gets really grating, especially like when they go off. Okay, so they hit this car. They Jenny, Barry, and Heather decide to go look for help, and they leave Sean behind to watch the other guy. And yeah, as they're walking through this dark, remote road, yeah, all she's talking about is, oh my God, somebody's watching us. I can feel it. Oh, we're going to be murdered. Somebody's going to jump out and kill us. Oh my God. I know this. I just have a feeling something's going to happen. And it's like literally 5 minutes of her talking about this.
Yeah. One of the little compliments I will acknowledge here, at least the wooded sequences, the setting in which they're located. These woods are very ominous, feel very authentically Chainsaw, heavily fogged. I mean, I don't think I've seen a movie with this much fake fog in the background ever. Like you can't see in the distance; it's just walls of white, mist everywhere.
Another issue with this, as you mentioned, kind of the woods and the setting overall, is this location does not seem all that remote.
It doesn't. There's consistently cars driving by and everything.
There's cars, there's motorcycles, there's a fucking drive-through pizza joint down the road. You know, so that when they're talking about like, oh, the family hasn't been heard from for years, and they literally live like a block away from a fucking Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
How do you not know these people exist?
Right. And another issue I have, and I know this might be a bit of a, like, I might be really like looking for problems here, but I mean, I think you'll hear me on this. It's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The first movie felt dry and barren and brown and uh, sunny. The sun was always beating down, and it had like a very Texas feel to it. Everything about it felt like the middle of like a scorching hot Texas day. This movie's mostly set at night from the beginning. There's only a few moments set during the day. And at night, I mean, I got to be honest, it looks very much like what I would imagine like a Midwest forest would appear. Like, you know, like it just doesn't, there's nothing about it that makes you feel like you're in an environment down in southern Texas. It doesn't feel dry. There's no cactus like you saw in the original film. It's just trees and fog and a house, and that's all you get. And it just doesn't feel really rooted in it. Like every other film, I would say within this franchise, for the most part, really embraces that. This movie does not. It does not try to make you feel like you're in a specific area or even really maybe remotely close to the original location to begin with. It feels very separate and dislocated.
Yeah, they must be in eastern Texas where it is more lush and green. Maybe they moved from the central Texas area to East Texas. There is a nod, though, I will say, because I lived in Texas for a long time. Anybody that's from Texas will know there is a nod in this film, or a little background scene that lets us know that this was filmed in Texas, and it is the H-E-B grocery store sign. Because H-E-B is a grocery store chain that is unique to Texas. And there's the scene where Darla's in the drive-thru picking up her pizza, and there's an H-E-B in the background. So it was filmed in Texas. It just must have been maybe more East Texas. Anywho, so yes, so the group, speaking of Darla, they stumble upon her office. I guess she's a real estate agent, and she just has this like office out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. It's very odd.
Yeah, it's so weird. And definitely not in any way intimidating at all.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of like businesses and people around this location. Anyway, so they go in, they tell Darla to call if she'll call for help. And she ends up calling Vilmer, who we get introduced to here in a bit. But Darla is a character herself. She is, I mean, her defining trait when we first meet Darla is she's awfully proud of her tits.
I mean,
I mean, to the point where like somebody throws a random brick through their window, and her response is to go flash her tits.
well,
At
she
them.
even said, she's like, the reason she's like, those high school boys always do anything to get me to flash them. I'm like, so you do? You a brick that comes through the window and you oblige, you appease them, and she's like, look at them and weep, and it's like that's what they wanted. They are happy. They're gonna come back and cause more mischief. She seems okay with it though. I will say, Darla does not seem in any way appropriate within the Texas Chainsaw Massacre universe, especially as a
No.
villain. But I like her as a character. I just don't want her here. Like, she's fun, she's charismatic, she's got a lot of personality, she's flirtatious, but this movie just doesn't lend itself to this kind of character at all, especially within being one of the antagonists. She's very well presented. She's wearing this fancy purplish suit and looking all sexy with her big teased hair and a face of makeup. And there's nothing intimidating about Darla. She's definitely charming, if anything. And I'm sure they use her as kind of bait to lure certain people, similar to kind of the setup from the original film, because, you know, there was the separate kind of setup with the gas station. So she's clearly the equivalent of that, but she's just very tame and she's very attractive. And there's nothing about her that puts fear in my heart, you know?
Well, especially she doesn't really. Yes, she's a villain, I guess, but she's not like. Yeah, she's not maniacal. She doesn't really do anything to like cause harm to anybody. She's just there to kind of witness it and go along with it. And definitely, yeah, like to lure people. But like, other than that, like, yeah, she's not intimidating. You know, I mean, goddamn, we get this scene where she picks up the stick and like taps Heather with it in the most demure way possible.
Oh yeah, she's not an intimidating force at all.
No, and then like we don't ever find out kind of what happens with that character. Right? It's just a weird choice. Yeah, it's like she's plucked from a completely different movie,
Yeah.
a universe, and set into this one. But she does call Vilmer, who we are introduced to because the next scene is his tow truck pulling up. Poor Sean is out there with this guy that's on the ground that looks dead. And Velmer is none other than Mr. Sexy Ass Matthew McConaughey.
Honestly, looking probably the best he's ever looked,
Yes,
which is
yes.
which is so strange because his character is so fucking obnoxious, and so again not right for this film. Like, they really were trying to create their own family structure, similar to what existed within the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But this is where I feel, in one aspect, they jumped the shark. They went way too big. The reason the original family in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre worked is because they were all very off and all very strange. And sure, the Hitchhiker was written to be a bit more manic and mentally unstable than the others per se. But overall, like, they were all just kind of just creepy, normal, greasy, oily looking men. These fuckers, one of them's got a robotic leg, one of them is spouting off Confederate one-liners, Leatherface is now suddenly wearing gowns. Like, they really took it and they like every character, they're like, what can we do to make this character like someone similar to that character from the original movie, but bigger and weirder and just more like extreme. And it really doesn't do the film any good. Like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is scary because of its simplicity. It's people being killed with chainsaws. That's it.
This Vilmer character is a big reason why this film doesn't work, particularly as a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. Right? Why would you think it was a good idea to make a completely different character the main antagonist of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film to the point where you shift Leatherface to the background and make him a whimpering, cowering pussy, basically? It makes zero sense, and I think that is the main issue with this film, and I think that's the criticism that this film rightfully gets, because it cannot feel like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie when Leatherface is not the main protagonist, or at least in the first film, the other members of the family, they were like working together. You know what I mean? Like there was a common togetherness of what that family was trying to accomplish. Think of the scene around the table with Marilyn Burns. They're all in it together. You take this Vilmer character, and now he is the primary villain, and everyone is scared of him, and everyone listens to him, and it just doesn't work. It's not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. It's a Vilmer, the greasy tow truck driver film
with a great ass film.
I mean, I'd still, I'd let him wrap that.
Eat my dinner off of it.
He's a hottie in this. God damn.
God, that ass looks so perky. I do, but building off what you just said, Troy, I need to expand across off of that, because I think let's just call out the elephant in the room right now. We're already touching on it. The biggest gripe with this movie overall, and in making Vilmer the main antagonist with the most motivation to be so, they really strip this movie of pretty much any key scenes that include chainsaw. There are 2 moments in this movie that include a chainsaw, and neither of them are really major. There's a chase sequence, and then there's a finale sequence. No one is killed with a chainsaw. There is no massacring done involving the chainsaw. It's simply there for effect and intimidation. But because Leatherface has stepped back significantly to a secondary role, the title being the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you come in with an expectation, and this movie simply does not meet the expectation whatsoever.
No, I mean, that's the main issue with this film it's not, it just doesn't feel like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. And that's something that at least all the other sequels and remakes and reboots and whatnot, at least they got that part right. And can we also acknowledge this film has an extremely low body count as well? I mean, there's a whole lot of screaming, a whole lot of chasing, a whole lot of yelling, but murdering, there's not a whole lot of that. So as Vilmer shows up, Sean is there, and Vilmer kneels down to the guy on the road, and Sean's like, is he going to be okay? And Vilmer's like, no, he's dead. And Sean's like, no, he's not. He was just talking in his sleep. And like, Vilmer's grabbing his neck, and he's like, nope, he's dead. And Sean's like, are you sure, mister? And out of nowhere, Vilmer grabs this poor guy's neck and snaps it. And he's like, well, he's dead now. And he proceeds to like, Sean's reaction to this is just like to go, oh, no, and back up. And Vilmer's like,
Sean's reaction, Troy, is to back up past the running pickup truck that he's leaning against.
Why didn't he get in?
Why don't you get into the vehicle and run this guy over? Like, it's right there.
Vilmer's like, you can run, but it ain't going to do you no good. And so, yeah, this has to be the most ridiculous chase scene in film history. Sean literally runs down the middle of the road.
It's very lackluster.
As Vilmer gets in the tow truck and follows after him. And I don't know. I would think it would probably be a better idea if you're getting chased with a tow truck to run into the woods.
Run into the woods. There's woods on either side of you. Trees everywhere.
Instead of staying in the middle of the road. And then there's the scene. I can't say this without laughing. The scene where Vilmer pulls up next to him and Sean's like, please, mister, you're scaring me. I'm like,
he's like, you don't even know how to be scared yet.
You just saw this guy snap another dude's neck, and you were being so fucking nonchalant about this whole thing.
Yeah, this man clearly wants to kill you.
I think it'd be beyond being scared. I mean, you're he looks like to be a pretty fit little high school boy, and he's like just running in a lagging pace to the point where he's only run like 5 feet and he has to stop to catch his breath.
He must be asthmatic, because it's literally like, it's like it's like a light trot the entire time, like
Oh my
maybe a
god.
jog, and the truck is just like kind of slowly driving alongside him. And then he stops. He's like wheezing. Like, yeah, it's extremely anticlimactic.
He's like,
There's no
he's
tension
like,
at all.
he's like, give me a chance. Bitch, you have a chance. Run into the fucking woods where the tow truck can't come after you. Anyways, it results in the tow truck, Vilma running him over and backing over him a bunch of times.
At least this kind of looks cool. Like I will say, like there's a few shots in the movie that are visually somewhat well executed. And while you never ever see the body or the gore in this movie entitled The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there is very little gore to be seen. But you do get the visual of the truck going back and forth over the body, and it has all these lights on it. So they're just like beaming all over the place through the mist. And that looks kind of cool. I mean, it's a rather effective visual, but without any of the gore, without any of the violence, like what's the purpose of making this specific title, you know?
Well, the other three continue down the road, and all Heather is doing is bitching. She's bitching about her feet hurt. She's bitching about how they're going to be murdered. And again, in the course of them walking down this supposedly remote location where this family hasn't been able to be located for years, we get a truck that drives by, we get a motorcycle that drives by. So how fucking remote can this place be? That just gets to me because the other films, especially part one, that felt very remote. Like you knew they were out in the middle of nowhere, and even in part two, that abandoned amusement park seems very remote. This is like literally in the middle of the city, and it just adds to the, I don't know, non-effectiveness of this film, knowing that they're so close to everything. I mean, they're close to a fucking HEB, come on. So as this car drives by, it doesn't stop. So Barry and Heather decide they're going to go follow this car up this driveway. While they abandon poor Jenny, who is wandering around the woods by herself. And we get this garbage bag jump scare. This garbage bag flies in her face and scares her. I've never seen a garbage bag jump scare in a film. So, hey, give them props to that.
No, but it is kind of funny. I will say, like, it's not a great moment, but I was like, okay, like, it's a self-aware kind of moment where they kind of have some building suspense and they gave us like a startle scare. So, like, it's not the worst part of the film. But when we're searching for things like this to get us through the movie, it's definitely not doing the job, you know?
And now we get some attempt at character development with Jenny, or I'm sorry, with Heather and Barry as they're walking down the driveway, where she tells him that she's a bitch, that she knows she's a bitch, and if she wasn't a pussy, that she'd be more like Jenny.
Yeah.
And this is when we get some story about Heather telling Barry that Jenny, actually, people think she's meek and mild, but she's actually not, and that she's been through a lot because her mother goes through husbands like water, and each new husband always attempts to like come on to Jenny and try to like basically sexually assault her.
That's
Um,
problematic. I mean, I'll give
and
her that. That's problematic.
yeah,
I will say, I think that Heather. Here's my issue with Heather. She's not awful, but she has this really like flat delivery. Her voice, the way she speaks, like everything she says, she's like, I'm a bitch. I'm just a bitch. And that's just who I've always been. And if only I was more like Jenny, maybe I'd know how to stand up for myself. And like she really, like, she has like no energy in her voice. There's no life in her, but it's also like it's not like she's necessarily doing a bad job. In fact, there's a scene later on when she actually kind of kicks ass. She really gives her all in a certain scene. But again, I think maybe she just wasn't directed well. I really feel like this actress wants to be Christine Taylor, like Marsha Brady in the Brady Bunch movies, really bad. Like this is the kind of energy and overall effect I think she's going for, and she just doesn't hit it at all. But Heather has some moments that I enjoy, and I do like that they, for making her the token bitch character, she is rather defensive of Jenny, her female counterpart, her friend, and I do appreciate that about her. She only speaks highly of Jenny. She only really says that she wishes she was more like Jenny. So I like seeing that from this character.
as Barry is constantly calling Jenny a dog, Heather does stick up for her. Heather says, "Oh, Barry, she is not a dog. In fact, I have her in PE class, and when I've seen her naked, and she has a rocking body." And Barry's like, "Oh, yeah." But then this is when Heather also mentions that the only reason she talks about like serial killers and being killed all the time is for attention. I don't know. It doesn't land very well, because this entire time she's been 90% of her dialogue has been about being killed by a serial killer, and then we find out she's saying she just does it for attention, but she's with friends. Like, why does she need attention? Why did we have to listen to her spout all this garbage about how she's scared and she feels like somebody's watching her? I don't know. Like I said, it's just kind of weak writing. They get to the house, which this house doesn't look nearly as intimidating as the houses from the other film. This just looks like a random, like,
No.
rundown house you'd see on the side of a road.
But they want it to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house, Troy. Like, I will
So
say this.
bad.
So bad. It's definitely the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house light. But if you look around, like, the layout is, like, at times kind of similar. A lot of the decor is taken right from the original film. The hides on the walls, the little rooms with cages in them. Even there's, like, the swing chair, but it's on the porch. But you could tell they're like, okay, let's see what house we can find that looks the most like that house, and let's try to like play it off like it is the same house. It just clearly is not.
They knock on the door. Nobody answers. So Heather tells Barry to go around back to see if there's a back entrance or see if he can find anybody. So he does. And while he's doing this, she sits on the porch swing and is just kind of chilling there when all of a sudden the big hulking figure emerges behind her, and it's Leatherface, and he keeps trying to touch her hair, and she like is batting his hand away like she feels like it's probably like a fly or mosquito. And then there's this moment where he kicks a broom over and she hears him. She gets up and turns around and sees him and screams, and then Leatherface screams back at her.
This is the closest to what I would say is capturing the energy of the original film.
Yes. I would say like the next, okay, so I will give the film this. The next probably 10 minutes of this film, from this point till Renee Zellweger's chase scene ends, so about 10 minutes of the film, really, I feel like the energy is there. It really does feel like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
Yeah.
But just for 10 minutes.
And I got to say, for Heather, this moment specifically is her shining moment. Because, she has the moment where she turns, she sees him, she reacts, he reacts. And then in traditional Chainsaw fashion, very similar to Pam's sequence in the original film, he grabs her around the waist, he lifts her up, and it is extremely physical. She's kicking her legs, she's screaming, thrashing her teased hair, she's punching at walls, doing anything she can to get free. And she manages to for a second. She locks herself in a room, and he fucking saws right through the door, or busts through the door. I'm sorry, he doesn't bust out the chainsaw yet, but he kicks the door in, and he manages to grab her. And it feels very brutal, very intense. This movie doesn't have a lot of moments like this, but I will say for a moment it hits like a fever pitch, and it feels really raw, and I do appreciate that. And while this is happening, Barry has gone around the side of the house because he's looking for a rear entrance, and there's a figure that appears who pulls a shotgun on him and starts threatening him for being on the property. And at first Barry's trying to appease him and be like, hey, calm down, man, we just had a car accident, we're looking for help. And it becomes pretty clear that this guy has no interest in helping him. And so when the screams start being heard, he doesn't really seem to care. It doesn't faze him. If anything, it becomes all too clear that he's kind of in on all of this.
Yes, this is the character of W. And I will say, at least in my opinion, this is probably the most disposable character in any horror film I've ever seen. Like, the guy literally has nothing to do.
Now, all he does is spew these like kind of one-liners that are Confederate quotes from famous like soldier figures and generals, and that's it.
He's not intimidating. I mean, I don't know what his purpose is. I guess he's part of the next generation, but I got to say, I'm not a fan of this generation. Anyway, so Barry, he forces Barry to go into the house with the shotgun. And of course, Barry does do something really smart. He goes into the house, but he immediately shuts the door and locks W out of his own house. In the meantime, Leatherface has shoved pour Heather into the freezer, and he locks her in the freezer. There's a moment that's kind of comical because he puts her in the freezer, and she immediately, like for 3 times in a row, is just able to push the the freezer door open to try to get out, until he realizes what she's doing. So he sets this big heavy metal like pod or something on it so that she can't get out.
Yeah. And if you look around this room, this is a moment specifically where they're like, okay, we got to make this house feel as Texas Chainsaw Massacre as possible. So it has all of the key things. It has the cooler. It has the meat hook. You see it. It has the long hallway. It doesn't have the sliding door like it did in the original movie, but there's still the long hallway. So, but somebody can step out of nowhere and, maybe meat mallet somebody to the head, which does happen because for a moment it does kind of follow in the same footsteps of some of the classic moments of the original film. A lot of the things that happen here are mirroring things that happened in the original Chainsaw.
Oh, absolutely. Like, 'cause that's why I said this is like the 10 minutes of the film that really feel like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Barry gets in the house. He's walking around. We see more of the house. He goes into the bathroom to take a piss. And as he's peeing, he zips up, turns around, and he sees that there is this rotted, decaying body laying in the bathtub. So he backs out of the bathroom. And as he gets out in the hallway, lo and behold, Leatherface is behind him with a giant hammer and bashes him in the head with it.
I got to say right here, Troy, that this is a moment when we talk about characters whose reactions and intentions seem completely out of place. Barry gets himself in the house. After hearing Heather screaming her head off, he gets inside, he starts walking through the house calling for Heather, and he seems very nonchalant. He finds a bathroom, he goes in and he starts peeing, and he's calling over his shoulder to Heather as though he is not concerned for her well-being. And it's like, man, a dude just pulled a shotgun on you and you heard your girlfriend screaming bloody murder. If I were this guy, I would be tearing through that house looking for her everywhere, not worrying about pissing. If I'm gonna piss, I'm gonna just piss myself at this point because I'm so fucking scared. This guy's so cool as a cucumber until he sees the body in the tub. So, and then he kind of starts to give a proper response, but it just doesn't seem like it makes sense because you could very much hear her screams, ongoing screams for a moment there. Another thing that, speaking of screams, that I want to point out is after all this wraps up, Heather's in the cooler. Leatherface has a moment where he starts to break down and scream, very similar to the moment after the initial attack in the original film, where you saw Leatherface start to break down, throw things around the kitchen, grunting, in his own way screaming, but it was very animalistic in the original film. Here, Leatherface has a response that is just like a shrill, loud screech. He just starts kind of screaming at the top of his lungs. Nowhere near as intimidating or terrifying as the initial mannerisms and vocals of the original Leatherface. This guy just kind of grips the sides of his face and screams his head off. And right away, right off the bat, he starts to read very weak and very affected, emotionally affected by what he's doing, but not in a way that seems at all threatening or foreboding, or maybe the original Leatherface seemed like he had a real mental discomfort with what he had to do. Here, this guy just kind of just starts breaking down and shrieking, and it seems very honed in and screaming just for the sake of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get it. And then after he has this breakdown, what's he do? He grabs Heather out of the freezer and hangs her on the meat hook, a la Pam in the original film.
Very similar to Pam, though I will say in this moment, Heather simply does not even come close to capturing the expressions of fear that Pam portrayed in the original. When Pam goes on that meat hook in the original movie, there is a moment where you see it you think it goes into her. There is a moment where she loses her breath, her eyes go wide, and she is just, the pain completely overtakes her. Here, Heather's just like, oh, oh, and I do love the visual of her little body hanging off the meat hook with her feet dangling. It looks cool, but it's just nowhere near as raw as the original film.
No, not at all. Jenny is wandering around the road by herself when Vilmer pulls up with his tow truck and tells her to get in. He's very aggressive about it. And she is, she's doing the smart thing. She's like, well, are you the one that took those cars off the road? Where's Sean? And he's like, well, if you want to know, get in. Ultimately, she gets in the vehicle with him. And once she gets in, he begins to just say the most ominous shit. He's like, in this day and age, you shouldn't get in the car with strangers. And then he's like aggressively begins to tell her to look behind her. And she's like, you're scaring me. He's like, oh, you want to be scared? Look behind you. Look behind you. And she's like, oh, no. And he's like grabbing at her and shit. And this escalates very quickly.
Yeah, well, right when he pulls up, he and offers her a ride, he is ominous. And he is not being subtle about it. He is instantly suspicious. And against her better judgment, she gets in the vehicle. But I'm like, listen, girl, if I were you, I just would be like, absolutely not. There's no way. Because she's like, where are my friends? Like, did you move the vehicles? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I did. Like, he's making all these like kind of like ominous lines to her, like hinting at maybe or maybe not. He won't give her a clear answer. And to me, I would be like, go fuck yourself, man, with your creepy ass fucking tow truck. There is no way in hell. So I don't know why girl gets in the vehicle to begin with, because he is not making himself seem at all likable or welcoming. But hey, at least Matthew and Renee are now together on screen.
Yes, yes. She yells at him. If he stops the car, she will look behind her. So he stops the car and he rips her glasses off her at one point, and then he like literally grabs her head, forces her to turn around and look behind her. And what we see is Sean and the other driver hanging in the back of his tow truck. And God bless Renee Zellweger. We know she's a great actress, but her reaction here even isn't all that,
Oh
effect.
God!
Yeah, that's all she does. Like, it's literally your boyfriend is hanging in the back of this guy's tow truck.
Well, and also I understand that this tow truck glows like a UFO, but don't tell me that when this pulled up, if these two bodies are hanging from the top of it, like, how did you not see this? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, were you blinded by the light that much that you didn't notice it? You're outside of the vehicle to begin with. Like, you're standing right beside it. If these guys are just hanging there, it's not like they're hidden under a tarp or anything. Like, they're fully revealed. So I just don't know how she managed to miss it. But I mean, for the sake of storyline, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, her reaction here is just not appropriate. I would think I would be flipping my shit. But no, she's like, "Oh, no. I'm scared." And he starts driving away with her. She does jump out of the car. I mean, she does that. There's a nice little effective chase scene when he's chasing her with the car, and she's doing the smart thing, like she's running and zigzag, and then she actually darts into the tree so that the vehicle can't get her. Now, if Sean would have done that, he may still been alive. And Matthew McConaughey gets out of the tow truck, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Where are you trying to go?" And gets out a flashlight and is like flashing it on her, and she's just like wide-eyed, not responding. And he's like, "Okay, if that's what you want, it's up to you. Live and learn." And he gets in his little tow truck and pulls away, and you're like, "Okay, he's just gonna leave her. Okay, whatever." And then you get the moment where she is just standing there in silence. It's silent. You just hear the crickets chirp. We hear a noise like a foot crunch, and she kind of gasps and backs up. And we get the moment, and I like this. I like this moment, and I like what follows it for like the next few minutes. We get the chainsaw revved up, and we do get, I got to tell you, Roger, it is a pretty damn good chase scene. I mean, Leatherface is chasing poor Renee Zellweger through fucking woods, through creeks. She does run into the farmhouse. She shuts the door. She darts up the stairs. And there is this... Is it a mannequin?
Yeah, there's a mannequin with like a sheriff's uniform on it, and she finds a gun.
So weird. It's creepy.
And she's like, I'm going to use it, but of course the gun's not loaded. But I agree with you here. This chase scene is rather good, and it's definitely like the Sally Hardesty moment for sure.
Oh, because she goes downstairs as he busts in and she tries to shoot him, and of course the gun is fake. So she runs back upstairs, and she does have her Sally Hardesty moment where she fucking jumps out the window. She jumps through the fucking window, busts the window, jumps through it, lands on the roof.
This whole roof sequence is honestly impressive too.
I love this.
I mean, it's big. They go big with this. I got to say, like, if they could have maintained this kind of energy for the whole length of the film, this would be a hell of a fun film. It really would. And Renee Zellweger, even this being one of her early projects, if not her first, she's already showing signs of being a really strong performer. Even if a few of her lines come off a bit under enthused or wooden, like I, after seeing the script, I'm sure I would feel the same way. But you know, throughout this whole sequence, she runs through like a bog. She's soaking wet. She's going up and down staircases. Leatherface is, though obnoxiously shrieking, still rather intimidating at this point because he's in his traditional uniform, like his somewhat his traditional costume with like the apron and so forth. So he still looks a bit like intimidating, especially compared to what we're about to get here in a few scenes when he looks like Mama's family. But like this whole sequence, like, you know, when she goes through that window and starts scaling the roof and he's like sawing through the chimney, she starts climbing the TV antenna. Like, I mean, girl is in it. She is working her ass off. She starts scaling across a telephone wire and he cuts through that, and then she goes through the glass ceiling of a greenhouse. I mean, he puts this girl through the ringer, and she has a really nice like leading girl, eventually what's going to be final girl moment here. This really is a strong scene for her.
Yeah, it is. I'm telling you, it is a great chase scene. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, when she's scaling that fucking television antenna and he's sawing at her feet, and then she jumps from the antenna onto the telephone wire. I'm like, bitch, you get it. This is actually a really cool chase scene. It's like a combination of like the original film that you throw some Halloween 4 into there. I mean, it's pretty damn good. I'm like, okay, I really wish this film would have kept this momentum, but it doesn't. It doesn't.
No. You know what else is really good though, Troy, here in this moment is when like she gets out of the greenhouse and then she like pauses and she looks behind her and he comes busting through the fucking glass wall. Like, fuck yeah, like that's the Leatherface I need. Someone who is like an unstoppable freight train. That's intimidating to me.
Unfortunately, Roger, it ends here because she runs her little heart back to Darla. So Darla cannot be that far from this house. It's so weird.
No, Darla is nearby.
She runs back to Darla's office, and Darla's there. And of course, poor Jenny's freaking out, saying, "Oh my God, he's out there with a chainsaw. He's out there with a chainsaw." Darla goes out, doesn't see anybody. So she ends up calling D and says, "You better get your ass over here right now." Or it's W, not D. DW, who the fuck cares? He's a worthless character.
Yes, he is a letter. He is nothing but a letter.
yes. So he shows up. He shows up awfully quick, right? She calls him and he's literally there like in 15 seconds.
Yeah, these people literally must be like on the cusp of town because across from Darla is like a gas station. Like they are really close to this place.
Yeah. So D shows, or what the fuck do I keep calling him D? W shows up, and the first thing Darla says to him is, "You should have brought a gunny sack." And he pulls out this trash bag, and he's like, "What's this look like? Green eggs?" And this is when she's revealed to be a villain. She's like, "Well, what are you waiting for? Tie her up and put her in there."
One thing I find interesting about Darla, Troy, is that even when she becomes a villainous figure, she's still very like comforting and tending towards Jenny. She's always telling her how pretty she is and offering her dresses. And it's weird because like Darla doesn't necessarily seem like she's ill-intentioned, but she's very much obliging what we find out her boyfriend, who is Vilmer, requires of her. But overall, she doesn't necessarily always come off like the most villainous of characters. So it is definitely like a strange way to present her character in that. And sometimes she's very ominous. Like, and sometimes she's obviously working on their behalf. At other times, I almost feel like she's secretly trying to help Jenny. I don't know. I don't really know how to take Darla, you know?
I could not figure out if her like nice behavior towards Jenny at certain points in the film was real, or if it was her just being like, "Oh, I'm maniacal. I'm acting like I'm nice to you, but I'm really not. I'm really thrusting you further into this nightmare of a night." It just, the character just, there's not a lot to this character in terms of like what we as the audience discover in terms of why she's doing what she's doing, what becomes of her. It's just very odd. Anyway, so
we don't know her intentions at all.
Yeah, so W gets his cattle prod and starts prodding poor Jenny.
I like this bit though. Where like how he's just like jabbing her with it up on the couch and everything.
Yeah, yeah, and finally he like whaps her in the head with it and knocks her out, puts her in the sack. They end up getting her into Darla's trunk as she just casually goes through this drive-through with poor Jenny screaming her head off in the trunk to the point where the drive-through worker is like, "Ma'am, you got something in your trunk," and she's like, "Yeah, you want to come out and see?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, well no, I better not. My supervisor's here." So she literally in the middle of the drive-through, as she's getting her pizza, gets out of her car, goes and opens the trunk, and tells Jenny to shut up. Jenny's like, "I can't breathe," and Darla says, "Well, if I put a hole in the bag, will you shut up?" And Jenny's like, "Yeah." And in the meantime, this cop comes up right behind her, and he's like, "Ma'am, what you got in your trunk?"
If only Jenny would have fucking screamed.
I know. I'm like, you have to hear that there's a guy like right there. Why didn't you scream?
This sexy fucking cop. Yeah. My favorite moments with Darla are these moments, though. Like this moment of her with the boy in the drive-through, where she's like, "You want to come outside and see it?" And like she's like being so flirtatious, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, what if the guy said yes and he did come out and see it? Would she just kill him right then and there? Like, what is she really going to do about it? But she uses her flirtation several times to kind of avoid conflict with certain people or to get things to go the way she wants them to go. And she plays these moments very well, I have to say. This character, when it comes to her being like a buxom, like Southern dame, like she's got the shtick down pat. I really like these like flirty little moments she has.
Well, yeah. So Jenny is not discovered in the trunk by the cop or anybody. Darla gets her pizza and goes on home. And as she's driving down the road, Heather is just randomly laying in the middle of the road. How did she get off the meat hook?
I mean, one thing I gotta say about this household is they are not necessarily the most organized individuals. It's not a tight ship that's being run. Okay. These people are bumbling. I think that's a trait that's been kind of possessed by every family ever portrayed, at least within the original several films of the Chainsaw Massacre series, the first four. The family has always been kind of a clusterfuck. Then when the remake came with like Arlie Emery and everything, they became way more of like a maniacal, like intimidating force. They've always been kind of loosey goosey about how they go about doing shit. And it's kind of part about of what like gives them their charm. Though I will say this film takes that and it's just like off the rails. Like these fuckers are in no way intimidating. They have no idea how to abduct people. People are getting out left and right. Renee Zellweger manages to get away several times very easily. Like, I don't feel that the level at which they make them seem so haphazard and just internally destructive. This family is very internally destructive towards one another. It removes a lot of the intimidation factor because oftentimes when things go wrong, it's because of how they're treating one another, and the other characters are able to just get away because this family just keeps like melting down in front of you. So with Heather able to get away, like I'm not surprised because Leatherface is probably changing into his next ensemble. W serves no purpose whatsoever, and I don't really know who's like really running the ship. I know it's supposed to be Vilmer, but he's always off kind of putting out fires and grabbing people in his tow truck. So for Heather, she's probably just been left hanging on this meat hook this whole time alone in that purple dress. I'm sure she's able to find a way to get off of it somehow because no one's paying attention to her.
Well, Darla stops the car and gets out, and Heather's like, "Please help me." And Darla's like, "Okay, you just stay there. I'll go get a blanket." And this is like the one flash of the one moment we get of Darla actually being somewhat villainous because she picks up a branch and starts hitting Heather with it. But it's what point does this serve? Because she's like literally just tapping Heather with this branch, and Heather's like, "Don't hit me! Don't hit me!"
Well, I think it becomes pretty clear that Darla is not ever wanting to be one of like the physically threatening individuals within the household. She's not the muscle by any means. So in that regard, I think when it comes down to it, she's like, oh, like I guess I should do this, but then she realizes real quickly, like she's like, this is not my strong suit. I am not going to be the one that beats this girl to submission, which I kind of like admire about Darla. Like she is not in any way trying to be the one that's getting the shit done physically. She'll save that for the boys.
Well, yeah, apparently she drives around Heather and leaves her there because she gets back to the house where W is chasing Leatherface out of the house with the prodding him, and now Leatherface is wearing a very sensible gray Mama's Family wig with a pearl necklace, looking just like Mama Harper from Mama's Family.
He is Thelma Harper. And the one of the worst aspects of this, I mean, the whole thing is confusing. First of all, he comes out and it is comedic, because nothing that he's wearing is like in any way meant to be scary. It's not like he's wearing like the scalped wig of a woman's actual hair. No, he's wearing like a bad gray wig, and the mask absolutely is a rubber mask. Like, do not tell me that you're trying to masquerade this as like human flesh. If that's what the goal was with this, they fucking failed, because it's the one of the fakest rubber masks I've ever seen. So there goes the leather face aspect. So now he's just standing there in a Mama Harper costume without explanation. They don't really delve into it. In a way, I kind of like that, because it's not like they make it like a thing. They're not like ever making it like a trans thing. It comes up like that he wants a new face at one point, but they never like use it against him. So I can appreciate that, but they also don't use it in any way to strengthen or define the character. It just exists, and it's not really addressed other than that.
No, and it's something we have not seen with the character before in the previous films, so it is a little jarring. Anyways, they get Jenny into the house, throw her into the kitchen. All along, as you know, W is prodding Leatherface, and Leatherface is crying and screaming like a little girl. It's grating. It gets really grating. Anyways, they get Jenny in there, put her in a chair. Vilmer comes in and rips the plastic off of her face to reveal that it's him. And he even says to her, "Ha ha, I bet you can't believe what's going on, can you?" And I don't know. I kind of lose. He was telling her that the FBI has transmitters in the walls and that they're being watched. Then he sticks his fingers in her mouth.
Yeah, once we start to get to this point is when things really start to go off the rails. As soon as Vilmer comes in and starts really establishing dominance and threatening Jenny, is where this film becomes sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. Vilmer is a very self-obsessed figurehead within this family, and it becomes clear that he's trying to be intimidating. But there's a few things that don't do him favor. A, he has a robot leg. So like once you like realize that and find out how to use that against him, he is very easy to bring down, as we learn. This robot leg is, first of all, the robot leg is another jumping the shark, in my opinion. Not necessary, doesn't make sense. What is it made out of? It looks like it's partial rubber, partial plastic bag. I'm not sure how it works. It has a controller remote, kind of like a television, and it makes really strange noises. And like that's all I know about this robot leg. So there's that. Then, on top of the robot leg, you also have the fact, and we brought this up a few times because it's undeniable, but Matthew McConaughey is constantly a vision of beauty over the course of this film, glowing, suckling like a candied pig on a rotisserie, just shimmering in the sunlight. He's heavily oiled and he's stunning, tanned, bronzed, kissed by the sun. He looks like a Greek statue, and I love that for him. Like, thank God. But also, like when you are trying to make this character a face of evil, I'm sorry, it does not do the character justice. I don't know what they were thinking when they cast this character there. They're like, let's put the most beautiful man we can get in this role, and then let's say he is extremely intimidating. Because to me, if I were Renee Zellweger, I'd be like, "You do what you got to do. If you're gonna lick my face, lick my face. Like if you're gonna beat me, like okay, can you zip that uh, onesie down a little bit lower so I can at least see more chest while you do it?" Because The intimidation factor is just not there. He can act as big as he wants. He can give the biggest monologues. He can go wooga 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 over the top of his head with a gun and scream at the top of his lungs and all he wants. He's not intimidating.
Oh, I agree. It is a problem. It's a problem, yeah, because he is absolutely stunning, and he tries to act maniacal. He tries to act intimidating, but it still just kind of falls flat.
And even when he to intimidate Jenny further, grabs Heather, and from what I'm assuming, he opens her mouth and I think he bites her tongue out, though you don't see it because there is no gore in this film. And then he looks up and there's blood coming out of his mouth, and I'm still okay, I'd still get down and dirty with it. Blood and all. If you want to bite my tongue out, at least let me finish first. And then do what you got to do. But it's just not scary because he is not scary. He's beautiful.
I can't tell. Yeah, did he bite her tongue out or did he bite her cheek? I don't know. He bit something, but yeah. And of course, chaos erupts, and W prods Jenny some more with the cattle prod before Leatherface carries her off into a random room. In the meantime, we do get the first glimpse that Vilmer is extremely physically abusive to his girlfriend, Darla, because when she tries to console Jenny, he backhands her and knocks her to the floor, something he does numerous times throughout this film. And she just doesn't really react to it. So Jenny is in the room with Darla and they are talking. And this is, when Darla is showing her soft side. She's telling Jenny how pretty she looks and not to worry about Vilmer, because she tells Jenny he's really not as bad as he seems once you get to know him. He's just really stressed with his job.
This is an ongoing theme with Darla. She's constantly defending Vilmer and trying to make claims that he's really a good boyfriend when he's not, actively killing people. It does definitely come off as kind of a case of what is it when you put somebody into a hostage situation and then they become accepting of it and they learn to, what is it, Munchausen syndrome, is that it?
No, it's Stockholm syndrome. Yeah.
Stockholm syndrome, that's correct. Yeah. She definitely gives off a hint of Stockholm syndrome because she's so okay with all of it, but then towards the end of the movie there is something else you learn about her that she hints at that's oh, okay, there's maybe more going on with her than we expected. But yeah, they have this really volatile relationship, and I am very thrown off by it. Sometimes it looks like he's about to kill her. Sometimes they're making out on tables. It's all over the place.
The male-female relationships we get in this film, the two that we get, are very toxic.
Yeah, and then she starts spewing off this bit to Jenny where she starts to claim that his job, he works under the people that run everything, and Jenny's the government? And she's no, it's bigger than that. They run everything for 1,000 or 2,000 years. I forget which one. And as she's rambling, Vilmer just busts into the room and physically launches her out the doorway. And it's this is the kind of shenanigans you get with these two. He's always throwing her by the neck.
Yeah, he throws her out of the room, slams the door shut, grabs poor Jenny, and holds a knife to her throat. And he's like, "What's stopping me from cutting your throat right now?" And she's like, "Because you want me alive for some reason."
Good answer.
Good answer. She's smart. We got a smart one here. That's what he said.
I like that we got so many Southern drawls in this movie because Troy, you do a mean Southern drawl. You do a real good Matthew McConaughey, and I like to think I do a good Renee Zellweger. so with your mousy little voice. So yeah, he is just if the term chewing on scenery were a physical trait, this would be nothing but a pulp. At this point, the walls would be shredded. Every line this fucker says is a big to-do in this movie.
Oh yeah. So after he says that she's smart, Leatherface comes back in, gets her, takes her back out to the kitchen. Vilmer goes into the kitchen and Darla's just standing there. She's like, "You better be nice to me." And he just slaps her across the face.
"You're embarrassing me in front of company."
She takes off her high heel. I got to give her some credit here.
Starts beating
him with it. She throws him to the ground and he can't get up.
But do you realize the only reason Jenny is able to get away at any time in this movie. The only time Jenny's able to get away is when they're fighting with each other. Like, they're always fucking going at it with each other. It makes it so easy to get a one-up on them.
And she's smart. She grabs that shotgun and tells them to all get down on the floor, including Vilmer. And he is not intimidated by her at all. In fact, he reacts by taking his pocket knife out and unbuttoning his little onesie, which, yeah, show that chest, Mr. McConaughey, and slashing his chest open. And Darla's like, no, don't do that again. And he like slaps her again and knocks her to the floor. And then he pulls out 2 shotgun shells and shows Jenny that he has the 2 shotgun shells. In the meantime, Leatherface in his mama family get up is cowering behind the refrigerator, just whimpering away,
not doing anything.
not
to
doing
help the
anything.
situation.
No.
I do have to say real quick, Troy, I gotta say, if you and I don't do a fucking calendar shoot as Vilmer and Darla, we are missing out on an opportunity. Not to cut in on this, but like me and those shoulder pads and you in that low zipped onesie with that robot leg, I mean, we got a lot of potential with that. Carry on. Carry on.
We got so many photo
there
shoots
needs to be about
do.
70 months in the year because we got so many.
You guys better subscribe to the Patreon so we can raise some funds for these outfits we're gonna need
to construct that robot leg.
Yeah. Darla's like, oh, just get on with it. I'm tired and hungry and I'm tired of this bullshit. If you're going to shoot, just get on with it. And honey, I don't know what you're thinking, because if he let you get that shotgun, he knew very well that you aren't going to do anything with it because he left it there for a reason. And all of a sudden, what's he do? He starts beating the shit out of Darla again, and he literally throws her on the floor and puts his foot on her neck like he's going to kill her.
Yeah, he like starts like full on like pressing down on her throat with that goddamn robot leg, and it, like, you think she's gonna die for a second. And like Renee has had this like moment where she's kind of like, she's trying to be a stand-up final girl, but it's really not quite landing yet. Like she's not doing an awful job, but like her dialogue is like very much like, I'm gonna shoot you, like, and then to counter it, Matthew McConaughey is like, I'm gonna shoot me, do it. Like,
yeah, she's not very assertive in this moment. It's just, yeah. And as he's like choking poor Darla there on the floor, Jenny is like begging Heather to get up, and Heather is like, can't get up. There's like blood all over the floor, and she's like, I can't get up. Well, I don't know if she can talk. I don't know if her tongue's being bitten out. I don't know, but she's not getting up. And as Jenny turns back around, Vilmer grabs the gun barrel and like puts it in his mouth, and he's like screaming, and she actually pulls the trigger. But of course, nothing happens. The gun isn't loaded. At least that round isn't, because he grabs the gun from her and fires it, and the second shot actually goes off and busts the window. And then she takes the opportunity to run out of the house. She gets in Darla's car, and as she's pulling away, Vilmer jumps from the roof onto the hood of the car.
Okay, but how?
I don't know. That was my question. How did he get?
Like, first of all, that robot leg. Like, how is he getting up that staircase with that robot leg? Second of all, like, that is in general, it's a quick transition from that room to that car and back in that car out. Like, he is up on that roof ready to go, jumps down on the car, stays on the hood. He's trying to grab her. She's trying to speed away. It's all too brief. It's very brief because she's distracted. She knocks him off the vehicle. She attempts to drive over him, but you don't see her go over the body. And she is driving, and the hood goes up on the car, and it distracts her. So she crashes into like a piece of like farm equipment or something, and so the car is stuck. She gets out to examine it, and he reaches out from under the car and grabs her by the ankles. So what I'm assuming is that when she ran over him, he just grabbed onto the bottom of the vehicle. I'm thinking, I guess. Doesn't make sense.
No, I guess we just have to go with that, because he's able to grab her, knock her out, and gets her back in the house. Now we get a transition shot of Leatherface putting on the red lipstick.
God damn it.
Much like Jenny did at the beginning of the film. And he's donning his black nightie.
This outfit, costume number 3, it's a doozy. Tumbling dark hair, a black negligee. It's a lot of things, but it's definitely not scary. And what's even less scary about this is with this ensemble. Whereas with Mama's Family, he literally was like acting like an old woman. He was like hunched over and like in the character. Now he's very Elizabeth Taylor. Everything he does with his like, I think he's got painted nails too, I'm pretty sure. But everything he does is very like dramatic. Lots of hand movements, lots of hands around the face, touching on his jaw and neck, playing with his hair, pouting his fake skinned lips. It's strange. It's a choice I did not anticipate when I first saw it, and it does not do anything to make this character any more intimidating.
Yeah, I don't like this particular get up for Leatherface. It doesn't work. It does not make him scary. It actually just I don't know what they were thinking. I really don't. I wish they would not have gone this direction with the character, because yeah, he just doesn't, it loses all effectiveness. I mean, Leatherface, let's be honest, Leatherface, in the first film, Leatherface in general is one of the more intimidating slasher villains out there. The hulking, I mean, think of this big hulking guy with a chainsaw wearing people's faces. That is fucking terrifying. And Leatherface has always been, to me, one of the scarier, more intimidating figures. But not now. I mean, not in this film. Not when you're putting him in this get up. It's not, I don't know what they were thinking. Anyway, it cuts back to Darla now. She is in the kitchen and she's telling Vilmorgan that he better be nice to her. And then they violently start making out on the counter.
Oh, it is a passionate makeout session. This is when she takes the remote from him, right? And she's control. Okay, so first of all, she's had a costume change. She's now in her evening wear. Sexy purple strappy dress. I like it. Very of the era. Very mid 90s. Her hair is all up. And so they're kind of jabbing at each other. She's heating up pizzas. And then she gets his controller, like for his leg, and she starts, making it do things. And apparently this turns him on because he immediately just starts making out with her hardcore, and she is all for it. They're on the table, they're licking on each other's faces, he's thrusting on her, she's making his leg kick up and down, and then she's sachets away with pizza in hand. She's like, "Don't let the pizza get cold," whatever.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, it's like dinner time, and they go into the dining room, and this is, I suppose this is supposed to replicate the dining room scene, the famous dining room scene from the first one. All these random dead people are seated around the table.
As is what I take to be their.
Is that Grandpa?
Yes. Okay.
He looks like fucking Herman Munster.
Yeah. Well, here's my problem. Grandpa, to the average viewer, it's just another body. To someone who maybe somehow, some way thought, I'm going to watch this specific Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie before watching any others. They're going to watch this movie. First of all, they're going to say, what the fuck am I watching? Second of all, when it gets to this scene, they're not going to understand that this is in some way supposed to be representative of the character of Grandpa from the original film, who has always been this silent figure that I don't know if he's dead or not, but somehow, like he sometimes he moves, sometimes he sucks blood out of fingers. Like, I don't exactly know what Grandpa's story is, but he's always been a thing, and I appreciate him as that. For him to be in this family does not logically make sense to me. And even if it is supposed to be Grandpa, I will say that he's certainly not utilized in any way to make that clear. All it is that he kind of looks like him.
Yeah, and literally he's in the movie for like 5 seconds and then you don't see him again.
He just sits. He does nothing. He just sits.
So they have Jenny at the end of the table. She's passed out. They put her in a better dress at least.
Yeah, with all those like sparkles and silver on it. I do like that dress. A few fake slaps to the face awakens Jenny, who takes in her surroundings, and she sees all these bodies, an unconscious Heather, an elegantly dressed Leatherface who nods to her and is not at all scary in any way. And so she begins to scream, and Leatherface starts to like join in the screaming, but he's like scolded. And then he's like, oh, he's like pissed off about it. And so he like pouts like a lady. He like just like looks off to the side and is like, I'm mad. And like, and again, it's just not at all scary.
Darla, and there is a brief conversation between Darla and Jenny where Jenny's like, "Why are you doing this?" And Darla's like, "Well, you don't understand. He put something in my head, and all he has to do is push a button, and my head will explode." And Renee Zellweger's like, she does it back, and they kind of chuckle. And apparently, Vilmer does not like their interaction because he violently grabs Jenny and says that Leatherface wants a new face, and he wants Jenny's face. And this is when Renee Zellweger, I think, really comes to her stride with her final girl, persona, because she slaps him not once, twice, and very aggressively, assertively says, "Don't you fucking touch me. Don't you dare put your fucking hands on me." I'm like, you go, girl. You go, Renee Zellweger.
One of the things that is coming up here is that it's pretty clear that while she's annoyed, upset, furious about the loss of her friend, I guess friends at this point, because I'm sure she's aware the others are dead, she's not scared anymore. And that does become a major playing factor here. She's pissed off, but she is not scared. And
Yes.
she's over it. And he's aware of it. And he's pissed. And he is not happy about it. His main goal is that he wants Jenny to be terrified. And it's just not landing. Because everyone is such a bumbling fool in this household. Nobody can really provoke that out of her anymore. She knows it. She knows that everyone in this household is, in a way, weaker than she is in a way, has no control over the situation anymore. They're all kind of fumbling with each other. They're too distracted with one another to even really properly target and intimidate Jenny. And so she kind of gets the upper hand here, which I do appreciate that. I like that she's finally done and she's like, fuck it. And then Leatherface starts to give like an Elizabeth Taylor level performance. And she's like, you sit the fuck down. And Leatherface is not pleased. He's very upset about it. But I like that she grabs the situation by the balls.
Well, she says, if you're going to fucking kill me because I'm tired of your guys' bullshit. This is fucking bullshit. You're not scary. You're a fucking asshole. She lets him have it. And you're right. It pisses him off to the point where he grabs a hammer and bashes W in the head with it, apparently killing him, and then grabs his knife and starts like slashing his chest with it. And then he gets a bottle of lighter fluid, pours it on poor Heather's back, who is still hanging on to her life by a thread, apparently, and he sets her back on fire.
And she just gets up and runs into a wall and falls over. And goddamn Darla gets a fire extinguisher and just puts her out. And she says, "Now why'd you have to do that? You know I can never take that smell out of my clothes." And Heather is like still alive. Let's be clear. After all of this, even after being set on fire, Heather is still somehow living at this point, but not for long. And so all of this nonsense is happening. There's all this commotion. Jenny is basically prepared to make a run for it at this point. She's really kind of getting a grasp of the situation. And there's the sound of a car honking outside. And they go to the door, they open the door, and there's these two mysterious suited men who appear out of nowhere. And they look very much not part of this universe. It's very weird. One of them does not have sideburns. And they enter the house. And they definitely have a control over the situation because for once, Vilmer seems very intimidated. And so the men enter the dining room, specifically the one man taking lead, the shorter one. And he walks in, he kind of takes everything in. He's very disgusted with the sight of everything. And he proceeds to start comforting Jenny, who does not know how to respond to him. And he starts to promise her that things are going to change.
Yes, and he scolds Vilmer and is like demanding that Vilmer answer him to tell him that he understands that all of this, what's happened, what's unfolding, is disgusting. And he's like, tell me you understand. And Vilmer's like, you can tell he's really mad. And finally he's like, yeah, I fucking understand. And yeah, and then this guy proceeds to go back into the room with Jenny and unbutton his shirt. And his entire like torso area is like carved up, and he has like these huge ring piercings in his stomach.
It's real fucking weird. And it definitely does not feel appropriate in this film. Appropriate meaning like it just is so far off from
Who
where
is
this franchise has ever been going or trying to go or what it's trying to accomplish. And if I've had any gripes over the course of the film, this one by far takes the cake for me.
Well, I don't even know who this guy is supposed to be, but he's talking to when he's talking to Vilmer, he's like, "Our sole purpose is to create horror, horror. You understand that horror, not all this." And I don't know who this guy is supposed to be. So is this supposed to be like the one of the guys that controls everything? And are we supposed to believe now that this entire Texas Chainsaw Massacre family and what they have been doing over the course of the last 30 years is because they're being controlled by these ominous unknown people?
I've heard theories about this movie that they're trying to almost lean into like a Men in Black kind of conspiracy, like that. But it's not right for this franchise. It doesn't feel like I said appropriate. Like it's not something that this franchise ever needed. And so the whole thing that this guy is kind of alluding to is that their whole purpose of existing is to ensure that people understand the feeling of true horror, and that Vilmer and his family have been basically hired by them to ensure that, and they are failing. They're not doing a proper job. So apparently true horror consists of this man unbuttoning his shirt, revealing his engraved torso and pierced nubbins. I don't even know. It's not nipples because it's too low, but it's something. And licking faces. He starts licking on Renee Zellweger's face, just lapping on her face, and she's screaming, but she's more just disgusted. But I don't like. Is that true horror? Because like, I mean, I would not be pleased, but I would just be like, do. Please do not lick me. Like, I don't know you. I'm not familiar with you. I wouldn't consider that true horror, but I would consider that to be rather aggressive and a little too soon.
And Leatherface dressed as Mama Harper and and in a nightie isn't true horror
That is
either.
not true horror at all. I don't know what these fuckers think true horror is. They definitely need to get some lessons. Maybe they take some classes from this man and his establishment so they can understand the meaning of true horror. But I also don't feel this man either has the idea of what true horror is, because nothing he does to Renee Zellweger is at all horrifying. It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah, he licks her face a bunch of times and then he just leaves. He leaves. When he leaves, this is when Velmer takes the knife and starts slashing his chest and stuff, because Velmer has a very like aggressive reaction to being stood up to. He lashes out when Jenny stands up to him, and now he lashes out after this gentleman has been very assertive and aggressive towards him. So what he does is he cuts his chest a bunch of times with his pocket knife, and then he proceeds to use his mechanical leg to finally off poor Heather. He crushes her head with his mechanical leg.
Again, this is off camera. You see nothing. You hear the sound of it, the audio. You see his face as he's biting down on his teeth and breathing through it as he's pushing down on her skull, but you don't see a single drip of blood from this.
No, this film has zero gore in it, zero blood even. Very odd choice to make this film virtually goreless. I mean, you get nothing. Everything is off screen. It's puzzling. I mean, this was the mid '90s. You would think that they would lean into the gore a little bit more. It's odd. Anyway, so Jen gets up and runs. She runs into a room, tries to get out of a window, and Vilmer goes in and gets her, throws her back on the kitchen floor. Leatherface has this chainsaw and is like threatening her with it, like buzzing it towards her. She's able to get a hold of Vilmer's remote for his leg and make it go into like high gear where his leg literally starts going ballistic and he can't do anything. And she uses this opportunity to get out of the house, to run out of the house.
Yeah, it's a very long, drawn out sequence of him like grabbing at her and grabbing at her and grabbing at her, and no one's really doing anything to help him. There's chaos everywhere, but she still manages to get the upper hand and keeps controlling his leg until she can get out the door. But she does manage to make a sprint and get out of the house, which I do like that she is consistently, for this whole final arc, making good choices.
Oh, she gets out, she runs, and now we get this random RV with this lovely elderly couple who neither can act their way out of a paper bag. It's Mrs. They call each other Mrs. Spottish and Mr. Spottish, and she very much is very proud of these two Bloody Marys.
Yeah, as he's driving along, she's made these two. They're in like the kind of. They look like you got them in Vegas. You know those gigantic, fucking like 3 foot long containers, and there's like 7 pieces of celery sticking out of them, full hamburgers hanging off of them. No, but so she brings them in with a big smile on her face, like Mr. Spottish. And then immediately you see Jenny running alongside the vehicle, and she's like, "Don't let her in, don't stop." But then she sees what the woman describes to be there's a monster chasing her. Yes, which it is. I mean, this hulking man in this black negligee is rather distracting. I'll say that. Very distracting. He does have a chainsaw. But they do manage to get Jenny into the RV. It is brief. Though.
Yeah, I love it. There's a monster with a chainsaw chasing her. And they get her in, and all of a sudden, it's super quick. Now, all of a sudden, Leatherface is on the truck that Vilmer is driving. And
I don't know how.
I don't either. They're trying to recreate the opening of Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, where Leatherface is hanging off the back of the truck, chainsaw on the poor RV, as this poor elderly couple is just, Mr. Spottish, go, Mr. Spottish. And they're able to run the RV off the road so it like crashes and flips over. So I want to know, Roger, did this poor elderly couple die?
I'm assuming they died. I mean, they were already drinking Bloody Marys. They kind of brought it on themselves. But yeah, I mean, I do feel awful. They really deserved a little bit more. At least they deserved a moment like the original semi-truck driver in the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, who simply just ran off and to never be seen again. At least you saw him running away. These fuckers, you never see them get out. But you do see Renee Zellweger in that dress manage to climb out of that RV, and she starts running along this dirt road. And somehow Vilmer does manage a full sprint, even with that robotic leg. And he's chasing her, but it's short-lived because out of nowhere, a bright yellow plane appears and it swoops up into the sky. It's like a one-person plane. Not sure who it is.
Who is it?
I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's behalf on the Man in Black. I don't know if it's a random individual flying through the sky who just saw the commotion and decided they're going to help. I like to think that's the case. This unsung hero who comes in out of nowhere, but manages to, as Vilmer is chasing after Jenny, and Leatherface is in the background chasing as well, the plane strategically swoops down and uses its blade to kill Vilmer. Like, it is very well executed. This man must be a prize fighter jet pilot, because this is wild. It doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever that he manages to kill Vilmer with his plane, but he does. Though Vilmer is seen in a pool of blood, you don't actually see the wound. So I don't know how that, like, he would be sawed in half. I'm sorry.
That's what I was thinking. If you get hit in the head with a plane propeller, I'm sorry, that is going to decapitate
There'd be nothing. There'd be nothing but pulp.
There'd be nothing. Yeah. It'd be, yeah. So, but we literally just see Vilmer laying there, his head's full intact, and there's just like, and it's not even that big of a pool of blood.
No, it's so understated, and then the plane never comes back. Like, that's it. Like, this is the finale. This is the climax. This is the big final moment. Mystery plane shows up out of nowhere, swoops down, kills Vilmer, flies away. Leatherface is shocked and appalled by this, and dramatically stops to clutch the side of his face as he screams in horror, as Vilmer dies in front of them. And then, to top it all off, that goddamn stretch limo shows back up, and Jenny, without hesitation, jumps inside, causing Leatherface to become wrought with anger and begins to dramatically recreate the iconic chainsaw spinning sequence from the original film, but to a far lesser degree. It's nowhere near as intimidating, especially because he is currently dressed as a woman.
Wearing that black negligee and the bright red lipstick. Yeah, so Jenny gets in the vehicle, and it is the gentleman that showed up and licked her face. And he apologizes to her. He's like, I'm so sorry that this went awry. It's supposed to be more of a spiritual experience. And she's like, fuck you. And he asks her, would you rather go to the police station or the hospital? And apparently they take her to the hospital because it cuts to the hospital and she is being, there's a cop talking to her and telling her that they're going to get to the end of what, or the bottom of what happened and figure everything out and for her not to worry. And there is this random woman that is wheeled by her on a gurney who just stares at her.
Do you know who that woman is?
I don't. I was going to ask
It's
you.
Marilyn
Who is this?
Burns. It's Marilyn fucking Burns.
Is it really?
It's Sally Hardesty. That's her
Oh my
cameo.
God. Oh my God.
How
Okay.
offensive, though. Like, that's all. Like, that's it. The last moment of the film. Jenny looks up, and for a split second, you see a few frames of Marilyn Burns looking up
Oh
from a
my
gurney.
God.
Like, that's
never
not how
knew.
you treat a final girl properly.
Literally never knew that. Okay. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because why is she in this hospital? I mean, that was she battled Leatherface 30 years ago.
I know. I think it's supposed to imply that she is tied to a gurney because she went mentally insane.
Okay. Oh, okay. See, now I feel stupid because I literally never knew that. But I guess I've never really this film is not high on my radar, so I've never really studied it that much. But yeah, I had no idea who that was. I was like, who is this, and why is she staring at Jenny? And why, when the gentleman's like, do you know who that is? Okay, so I guess. Yeah, that makes it a little more. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
But whatever. Okay. I learned something new. That's kind of cool. But yeah, really shitty cameo. Strap Marilyn Burns down to a gurney and wheel her by Renee Zellweger for 5 seconds. Okay, but I guess it's no more offensive than what they did to the Sally Hardesty character in the Netflix sequel that just came out.
At least she was able to wield a gun in that. This one, the poor woman's tied to a gurney. All you see are eyes. Like you just see her pupils, and that's it for like about 10 seconds.
Yeah, and and then the film ends on a note of Leatherface twirling around out in the middle of the field in his black nightie, and the film ends
as the sun rises above the Texas skyline.
Yeah. And then thankfully we did not get any more Texas Chainsaw Massacre films until the remake, which actually we both enjoy. And then that kick started a whole bunch of other sequels and prequels. And I mean, yeah. So I mean, let's be honest here. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, as far as the big horror franchises out there, is probably the worst.
Yeah, it's very spotty. Very spotty.
Yeah.
There's a few glimmers of light. The original, the first remake, but overall, like this is a film that really does its best. The simpler you keep it, the less convoluted you make it, the more impactful it's going to be. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was great because it didn't have to overthink. But once it came to the second and the third, and they're trying to find more motivation and reasoning and purpose, it doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. It's just let it be what it is. Let these people be backwoods, living in the middle of nowhere, rural Texas rednecks who have a dark secret that they eat people, turn them into sausages. That's all I need. I don't need Men in Black. I don't need torso piercings. I don't need airplane murders. Like, just keep it simple.
Yeah, they eliminated the whole cannibalism subplot in this film. Yeah, and then the whole story with the Men in Black is just absurd. It does not fit this franchise. They tried that with Halloween, Halloween 6, and that is considered one of the worst sequels of the bunch. It just, you don't need to do that. Just keep it simple. It's a slasher movie. We want to see people being murdered with a chainsaw. That's why we're tuning into a film called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't want to have all this conspiracy theory shit. I mean, I know people really gave the sequel, the recent sequel, a lot of flack, but I would take that over this film any day. At least Leatherface is fucking intimidating and brutal in that film. He's not wearing a nightie. He's not dressed up as fucking, Blanche from the Golden Girls. He is intimidating. I'm sorry, this film, well, I will admit, I got a little bit more enjoyment out of it than I remember, only because there are glimmers of this film that I think are good, and then it just falls flat. Like I said, I love the Renee Zellweger chase scene, but overall, I mean, this is a pretty grating film to sit through, and it just shits all over the Texas Chainsaw Massacre lore that had been established before this film. So, I mean, I guess good on them for trying something different, but
no,
I know. Well, here's the thing: being involved with the original film as heavily as Kim Hinkle was, it just, again, as I said as we started the podcast off, it just baffles me that he went this route with the franchise. It just, makes zero sense. He must have had a B first. He must have been doing it out of spite. I don't know. He could not have seriously thought he was making a good A, a good movie, period, or B, a good Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel.
Right. It goes to show, I think, just how important and pivotal Toby Hooper was to creating that universe and what went on within it. I think really what suffers here is how big the movie goes at times. I mean, certainly the original one had big moments, like Marilyn Burns tied to that table, flipping her shit, but they saved it for the moments of true terror. Here, it kind of always is over the top, and at times feels sticky. There's so much. I don't even know if it's intentional. I don't want to say intentional comedy, but don't tell me you're going to put a chainsaw wielding maniac in a goddamn Mama's Family costume and tell me that wasn't intended to be somewhat humorous. And if it wasn't, then you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films work best when they avoid any comedic tone and go with the dark, brutal tone that the first film is known for, because part 2 is kind of the same thing. I can't really sit through part 2 because I find it grating, and I don't like the comedic tone that flows through the film. And then 3 went back to the kind of dark, brutal tone. And that one's, well, it's not a good movie. At least it feels like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
Yeah, this certainly does
and
not.
And then this one does not. And then the remake at least went right back to the roots of what makes a good Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. So yeah, that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, which again, that tagline makes zero sense because nothing. How is this the next generation? Whatever. Yeah, so we made it through
somehow, some way. And if you want to hear us review a Texas Chainsaw Massacre we do actually like, I can't recommend the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake enough. I recently actually listened to that one when I knew that we were going to have to review this title, and I really actually felt strangely nostalgic listening to it because we gush over it. We really do. And there's some fantastic performances in it. The cast is lovely. And it's really just a great film, in my opinion, beginning to end, and shows how something within this franchise, even within the remakes, how it can be done right if it's in the right hands. Unfortunately, this film was not, and thus it does ultimately fail. But hey, you know what? It made for an interesting choice. Thank you, Cameron, for making us go through this again.
Episode 27 is the one where we review the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, and you gotta love an oiled up Mike Vogel.
Don't we all? And we do love an oiled up Matthew McConaughey, just not
yes, we do
when he's delivering the dialogue in this film. But with that being said, Troy, if I'm going to go through it with anyone, I'm going to go through it with you. So thanks for going through this traumatizing experience of watching this movie again with me.
Yeah, guys. So if you enjoyed the episode, give us a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/darknightofthepodcast. And we're going to surprise you next week. We're not telling you what our pick is because this is fan pick week. We're trying to surprise you. So if you want to know, again, check out the Patreon.
Yeah, absolutely. And until then, we're just going to tell you one thing. One of you fucking picked it.
Yes, indeed. And it may, well, stay tuned. It's a good one. All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.